What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. I'm also the 2018 Innovation Award winner by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. But it's not about me. It's about friends that come on. And I'd like to say a shout out to I Am Ritz Kellogg, who's on Get Vocal, and also Patricia Murray, otherwise known as Durham Skyrider out of Durham. I don't know if it's North or South Carolina. I got it. I think it's South Carolina, but I may be wrong. So Patricia, correct me if I'm not right. Let's have some fun here. It is Dr. Vibe. We have another new friend, and interesting enough, I have not crossed paths with this lady in a minute. And you want to know how long a minute has been? I'll tell you, 2012. She probably doesn't remember where we last crossed paths, but it was 2012. There was an event, I guess, northeast end of Toronto, and she rocked the house with a presentation. She doesn't remember. I know she doesn't remember, which is good. That's all right. She doesn't remember, but it's all good. We have Karen Donaldson on the platform tonight, and she's going to be sharing about tips to be more confident when you speak in any setting. Now, let me give a little background about Karen. There's a lot, but we're going to do it, condense it a bit. She's an award-winning #1 multi best-selling author. She's also the owner of Karen Donaldson Inc. and the brand Speak and Get Booked and Speak Confident. She's a certified confidence coach, communication and body language expert, executive public speaking coach, and international speaker. She has been speaking and coaching for over 20 years, showing individuals exactly how to take powerful action and own their voice, increase their impact and confidence whenever they speak. She's a secret weapon. I like that. She's a secret weapon behind many CEOs. I like that. That is nice. I really like that. Senior executives, successful entrepreneurs, and politicians across North America and the UK, as she guides them and helps them to increase their capacity to authentically connect and engage as they lead and communicate. With her dynamic and interactive style, as an expert speaker and coach, she moves her audience and clients into action and shows any, quote, ready and willing, unquote, individual how to become the leader who knows how to connect, engage, empower themselves and others. She has been a guest expert on both local and national media in Canada, but now it's on the U.S. because we got a lot of U.S. posse on here, and a sought after leader and certified expert in her industry. And on top of it, most importantly, she's a mother of 3. That's right, folks. So welcome to the Dr. Vibe Show, home of epic conversations for the first time, but not the last time. Ms. Karen Donaldson, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me, Dr. Vibe.
My pleasure. It is a blessing to have you. And I also want to shout out on the Get Vocal platform, Jada Lopez, Dre, and there's a guest. And Dre just hosted a great conversation on Get Vocal, and I'm glad I caught some of it. And so kind to have those people come over here. And we have our T. Sanders, who's following it on the Periscope side. Let's make it happen. So, Karen, we got the Flossie.
Yes.
I got the Floss, wonderful bio. Share a bit about where you grew up, etc. How did you become from little Karen to powerful Karen?
All right. Thank you so much for the floor. My shorter, more home ground bio is this. I was born and raised in Toronto, Canada. As Dr. Vibe shared, I was a mom of 3. I have always talked a lot. So I was that young person who was a chatterbox, who got in trouble for talking too much. I was the one when my parents went to the interview. Everything was great. The marks were great. I was polite, but I just talked a little bit too much. So I've always been in the game or school or industry of speaking. But I have to tell you how my whole career got started. In my last year of high school, and I went to school when there was such thing as OAC. So I'm Canadian once again, so grade 13, and that probably dates me, but that's okay. My last year of high school, I got pregnant. And my last year of high school was also a phenomenal year. I was a captain of a lot of teams, captain of the debate team, and I found out I was pregnant right after Christmas. And when I went back to school, it was one of the most difficult the most difficult times in my life, because I lost absolutely all my friends outside of 3 people. And the teachers who had so much faith in me lost faith in me. And the key thing was this, Dr. Vibe, I lost faith in myself and I became voiceless. So the outspoken Karen who stood her ground was voiceless. You'd kind of see me, but you wouldn't hear me. And there was this one day I was walking home and I stopped and I saw myself, my reflection in the bus shelter. And I said to myself, Karen, you're allowing the words of others to define you. You are not diseased. You're not contagious. You're only pregnant. And for me, that's where that whole soulful self-talk was born. For me, it's words of others do not define you. You define you. And they only define you if you allow it to. So I went back to school with my head on strong. That year I graduated valedictorian, received the President's Award, received the Athletic Award, walked across the stage, 8 months pregnant. And it was because of this. And from there, you know, I've only held 2 jobs in my lifetime. And I was speaking straight out of high school. I was invited by colleges, universities. It went on to organizations. Then it went to leadership retreats. And my last job was with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Ontario. So it's a big health charity over here in Canada. And what happened there is I was representing the organization at their conferences, delivering their workshops. And what happened was I went to do an event, and one of the partnership tables I sat around was with a lot of CEOs. So one of these CEOs finally heard me speak. And after I came down, he said, okay, hold on. Who did the foundation hire to teach you how to speak like that? And I told him, what do you mean? He says, Karen, don't worry about how much it costs. Who did they hire? Because I need to hire them. And what I told him at this moment was that I didn't have anyone who was coaching me. It was myself over time who would develop this skill. And with my background in community development, I learned how to really build rapport with people on a human level. And he hired me on the spot. So he hired me, and from there on, it went from CEOs to politicians to COOs to entrepreneurs to everyday people. And that's how my speaking career was born. And I just do programs from there. I help people build their speaking career and get paid. I help people become a natural, refined their speaking ability so they can become naturally confident speakers. And that's my life right now, and I absolutely love it.
Wonderful. A few conversation pieces I want to ask you about that, the earlier days. Those 3 friends that stuck with you, do you still keep in touch with them, any of them?
I sure do. I mean, one of them is the godfather to all of my kids.
Okay.
The other one, I'm a godfather to her son, and the other one, we're just close friends. But yes, those are my hearts. Mm-hmm.
And when you decide, I guess 2 things, when you decided to go out on your own, what was your family's reaction? And also, when do you remember the moment you said it's time to step on my own? So a 2-part conversation piece.
What did my family say? Well, I am the first entrepreneur in my family, a technical entrepreneur. We're fully left. It's not a side job. And I remember my mom and my job where I got paid really well, really, really well. We had Fridays off in the summer, and she said, Karen, you have a great job with great benefits. And she's old school Jamaican, so that's my background, Jamaican. What are you doing? Are you sure? And after I had her blessing, she just had to do this eye to eye. Am I sure? And she says, whatever you do, you put your mind to it. And I said, Mom, I'm sure. And I did it. Everyone else was, Karen, are you serious? I had friends who said, do you really think you can do this? I had comments from people just saying, if you think you can help people and be a communication coach to any type of leaders, you should go back and find a job right now. I had the naysayers and I had a handful of supporters. So that's what my family said to me. But for me, it was my mom. I had my mom's blessing. And once I had my mom's blessing, Dr. Vibe, I was ready to go. To answer your next question, though, it was a great question. That moment, I knew from a young age that I was not meant to work for someone. So I'd share that I've had 2 full-time jobs in my life. And when I was doing those full-time jobs, I was speaking on the side. So I used to take off, I probably shouldn't say this now, but I used to take off sick time and go and do my speaking gigs. I used to take vacation time and do my speaking gigs as well until my speaking business built up where I could no longer balance the two. And my last job with the health charity over here in Canada, I had a phenomenal boss. She was a director. I didn't have any staff, but I was a senior. I was at a senior level as well. And she was phenomenal. And I was walking around with my letter of resignation for weeks because I knew it was my time. And I just grew the balls to walk in, and I gave her the letter. And when I gave her the letter, a few tears came to her eyes, and she asked, "What's wrong?" And I told her it was nothing about you, has nothing to do with the foundation. The opportunity here has been phenomenal. It's been a great growth platform. It's me, and my time to go on my own is now. And I thanked her. And she said, just in case you have a position here, if you ever want to come back. But that was the moment. I walked around for weeks. It was probably around 6 weeks before I handed it in to her.
Wow. Do you still keep in contact with that lady at all?
You know what? I saw her online a short while ago. We met a couple of times afterwards, but I haven't. But I need to. I will.
No problem. Our conversation topic tonight is tips to be more confident when you speak in any setting. But before we get there, were you always confident? And if you weren't, how did you build up your own confidence?
That's a great question. And I bring everything back to, for me, it was my life-defining moment. It was having my daughter and just having every single friend. And when I say every single friend leave me, and when I realized that I still had to stand true to me, and people were entitled to their opinion. But the most important thing was this, Dr. Vibe. So was I. So the question was, what did I believe in? What did I believe about myself, regardless of what else anyone else thought? Because I'm the only one that will go along in life with me. People will come and go. It was, what do I think about myself? So up until the point of getting pregnant, I lost all of my confidence. And when I had that moment of looking in the bus shelter and I came back, I said to myself, I define me. And if you choose not to like me because I'm pregnant, it's okay because I still like me. So confidence is something that it's a behavior, and we'll get into the conversation. People think it's an emotion, but it's actually a behavior, which means it's a choice. So every now and then, depending on the setting, it may not be a setting that I'm really good at or I've mastered, but I'm going to go on with my head strong and do the best that I can do because that's what I'm guaranteed. I can give 150%. And if I give 150%, I'm fine with what I do.
I'm going to ask you a favor.
For sure.
I'm going to ask, if you ever get the opportunity, I'd like to see a picture of that bus shelter.
Okay. You know what? My mom still lives in our family home where I grew up. I pass it all the time.
I think that would be a very interesting image to say, this is where I made the turn in my life.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
You're welcome. No problem. Why did you want to chat? Well, I'll just be transparent here. Myself and Karen, she gave me 3 topics to speak for her to share about. And I go, Karen, we ain't going to get all 3 done in a while. It's just not going to happen. So she asked me to pick one. And I said, okay, let's pick this one. Now, family, please encourage her and say, we want you back for some more conversations, because the other things she wants to chat about are so much empowering too. And I just want to say, shout out, people are loving you because Jada Lopez has shared your Twitter handle, and Dre has shared your website address. Also, a shout out to Leah, the life coach. So before we ask, why did you get into this lane of coaching about speaking? Why did you pursue this area to help people raise their bar?
For me, here's the thing. I wanted to change the face of what it meant to speak publicly, because we are all natural communicators. That is our main mode of communication. But because of what we watch, what we read, what we listen to, we've subconsciously been groomed to think that we need to fear public speaking. And it's unfortunate because when I work with people, when I work with my clients, whether it be an employee, a mom, or even a CEO, the first conversation we have is, let's refriend speaking. We do it every day and get rid of this barrier that's been put up against us, that we fear it. And they call it glossophobia. There's even a term for it. we speak all the time. So like really redefining what it means to you. So for me, it wasn't teaching people how to become something. It was helping them refine who they always have been. And that's the thing when you speak, Dr. Vibe. It's not about perfection. It's about being you. It's about connecting on a human level. So changing that dichotomy around, this perfection and this ego on stage, and I need to know it all. No, you don't. You just need to connect with someone. You just have to be relatable. And that's the easiest way to build rapport is when you're relatable. So help people refine and refriend speaking.
Do you remember your first client?
Yes, definitely. It was the CEO. I can't share the name of the organization.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I do.
No problem. In your business journey, can you share? Oh, okay. Well, I think she's answered that question, but I'll put it out there. Artis is asking what led her to be a coach or a speaking coach. I think you've answered that.
For sure. I'll answer the other half. So I shared what brought me to be a speaking coach because I wanted people to refine their voice. The whole helping people add speaking to their business model, because I also do that as well, is that organizations are changing, and those who take the stage at events and conferences need to be the same faces as the people who sit in the audience. So it's time to diversify. The speaking industry is its own beast, and I've learned how to navigate it. And my whole thing is let's all win. Someone doesn't have to lose for me or someone else to win. So if I have the tools and know-how, I'm ready to bring that willing person and teach them how to do the same and get paid to speak their message, get paid to travel the world and impact more people. So that's where it came from and why I came to those two places.
Well, it's interesting because you mentioned the speaking industry has changed. How has it changed during your journey?
Well, I've been speaking, as I shared, for 20 years. And in the beginning, when I started, my first 5 years were kind of not tough. I didn't know it to be tough. My experience was this. I was a young mom. I was 19, 20, 21. I was being flown across Canada and the US to speak on self-leadership and perseverance, just based on my experience. So at that time, Dr. Vibe, they were paying me $500. So it was great. I'm 19 years old. I can't tell you the year, so I'll tell you how old I am. But nonetheless, I'm being picked up in a limo. I'm being put up in a suite. I'm going on stage. I'm speaking for 45 minutes, something that I love to speak about. So it was amazing. And I didn't know that I could actually make a career out of it. So the first 5 years, I was only paid $500. Then I met a gentleman who saw me speak, and he spoke as well. And he said, "What's your speaker's fee?" And I said, "Well, I'm 19 now. I'm like $500. He said they paid me $5,000 to do the exact same thing. And from that point, he became my mentor, and he brought me into the speaking industry. When I knocked on doors, no one would answer it because the face was different. They were professional old boys club. There are Caucasian men and Caucasian female. So it was hard navigating and getting in. So it was the referrals and my references that got me on the stages over the first 10 years. After, as my brand became stronger, people started to notice that we needed people on stage that looked like our employee base, our audience base. We're in Canada, US, it's a melting pot. It's a diverse community. And the audiences started to demand somebody different. They wanted someone relatable. So right now, there's such a huge opportunity for someone who has a message to connect with someone either like myself or someone else to fully define them and help them brand themselves so they can get the attention of the meeting planners who have the budget to book them. You see, there's a lot of speakers out there, but there's this big gap, and there's professional speakers who get paid. Unfortunately, people are either caught in the gap or they're speaking for free, and they don't have to. And so that's where I fill that gap and get people, traveling the world speaking.
Well, it's interesting. And I don't like to share a lot about myself, but it's interesting. People are asking me to speak, and I tell you, I don't speak, I share.
You got it.
I can fully relate to what you're saying, because now people are asking and saying, "Oh, how much do you charge?" Before it's just, "Can you come?" And I know we didn't want to talk a lot about the business end of it, but just one more question before we get to the tips is how important, if you want to get into speaking, is credibility, endorsements, testimonials?
It is huge. You see, anyone can boast about themselves, but what the meeting planners are looking at, and when I work with my clients in my Speak and Get Book program, I have a subset, a little board of directors of conference coordinators. And what they said is, I need to hear from someone else, the organizer and those in the audience, that they loved you, that what you shared was tangible enough that they were able to take home some content and actually use it. So third-party endorsements, those testimonials, those referrals, at this point in the game, it's essential. It's not necessary. It's essential to have those third-party credibility.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of my mentors told me that, and what I've done now is I have about 40 testimonials on my test, and now I'm getting video testimonials because it's one thing to have the written, but when you get the video ones, it's more powering. Jada Lopez has a question for you, saying, "What made you think of it as a business versus you just being good at it?" It's a great question.
Very good question. I was developing my skill, and I believe I'm a long-term student, so I believe I'm still a student. As I developed the skill and I refound my voice, I saw so many other people who needed to refine theirs as well. I saw that there's a lot of opportunity, but sometimes the path isn't clear, or sometimes there's a door in front of the path. And if I could be that guide, I wanted to be the guide because there were so many guides for me. So I said, you know what, let me go ahead and increase my impact and share what I know by speaking on stages. But at the same time, let me help a whole bunch of people along the way. You know, my clients span from Australia to South Africa to the US to Canada, and they're speaking nonstop. So I'm a believer in also doing what I teach. So I know what it's like pounding the pavement when I'm showing you how to build your speaking brand. And that's important for me. I like when people teach me from a place where they've actually done it. It's neither right or wrong, but that's just my preference. And that's what I believe as well.
Good stuff. Dre asks, I know he asked about your, what do you charge? Dre, get her email. I'll get you her email address and you can take that offline if that's fair. Exactly. All right. Also on the Periscope side, you for Sight, and also LA Wade from Toronto is on the Periscope side. Okay, let's get to some tips to be more confident when you speak in any setting. And also people, especially on the Get Vocal end, you're more than welcome to come in and take a seat and ask it visually, or keep the comments and questions going on the text room on the side. So go ahead, Karen.
Absolutely. So here's the first thing. I want you to try on my philosophy when it comes to speaking publicly. And here's what it is. It's slightly different. So out here for the moment, forget about everything you've heard about public speaking, what you know, your public speaking class, Toastmasters. I want you here with me right now. All right? Here's my philosophy. Public speaking has very little to do with actually what comes out of your mouth. It primarily has to do with the conversation you have with yourself about yourself as a speaker. You see, what you believe yourself to be is what comes true. So if you're having a conversation that, you know what, I suck, I'm scared, it's not going to work, the only thing that it can appear for you is what will support that. So think about that. It has nothing to do, very little to do with what you say. It's this conversation here that runs everything that comes out of your mouth. So we start and we forget about body language and the power pose and steepling and begin with, what do I say to myself when I get up in front of a meeting or at a meeting, or if I get up on stage, or if I'm speaking in front of 3 people, and be intentional about changing that to something that's supportive, right? So that's the first step. Even before going to the tangible pieces and the practical, little nuances and things like that, check yourself for a moment. Just think of the last time you spoke, you felt a little bit nervous. What were you saying to yourself? And make a note of it, because we can't change what we can't acknowledge. So if you're trying to fix and you haven't acknowledged where you are, I'm telling you, you're taking 10 steps backwards. So you want to make a note of what you're saying to yourself and replace it with something supportive. And here's what you want to start to replace it with. You want to say to yourself, what do I do well when I speak in a one-on-one situation? Are you great at making someone smile? Do you enjoy other people's company? Do you just like speaking? Do you just like sharing? And as you go in front of that room full of people for a meeting or on stage, whatever it may be, maybe 2 people or 2,000 people, you want to catch yourself when you're saying, oh my God, I'm so nervous, I suck. What if I make a mistake? Say, you know what? I love sharing with people. I love making people smile. And then you start to show up as a completely different person. So that's actually the first step, is to take a note of what you're saying and be intentional about what you want to say to yourself.
I want you to stop right there, because I am so agreeing of that, because when I go out and share with people, one of the things I say is I'm the man for the job.
Got it.
And also too, people don't realize that when you speak, the first person that hears it is yourself. So I bow down to thee, Karen, on what you're sharing. It's so true that a lot of people are, for lack of a better word, sabotaging themselves mentally and emotionally before they say a word.
They completely are. But you can stop it. So you now have a tool, and here's what I say to you: use it. Don't just listen to this and like it. I want you to use it. Right?
Yes.
So that's my first.
You Foresight on Periscope is saying, in other words, the first person that believes in what I say should be me. That makes it easier to convey the message I'm trying to say or send.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And also want to shout out to Junia6 on Periscope, and people keep the comments. I just keep it flowing, because she is here to share tonight, and she's rocking the house. RT Sanders has a good question. Do you ever go back and listen to yourself?
Yes, all the time. So here's the thing. In the beginning, I didn't like to see myself, and I didn't like to hear myself, but I'm absolutely fine. So I believe that, as I shared, I'm a student, and I can always fix something or get better at something. So the only way I can do that is if I self-acknowledge what I see and make any shifts necessary. So yes, I do watch myself.
What's number 2?
Tip number 2, it's a conversation around confidence. And this is what I want to say. We're talking about tips to be more confident, but I want to talk about this for a moment. Many people believe that confidence is an emotion, and it's actually not. The emotions we experience are fear, anger, happiness, sadness, trust, disgust. Confidence is not one of them. We've just been subconsciously groomed to think it's an emotion. Confidence is actually a behavior. So when we take a moment and think about it, it's not an emotion. It can drive an emotion, but it's truly an action. It's a behavior. Then you can show up confidently whenever you want, because the behavior can be an intentional choice. So take that in for a moment. Confidence is not an emotion, it's a behavior. So as you go into a setting and you're setting yourself up for success to speak, we're starting with positive self-talk, confident self-talk. So now we can act confidently because we believe in ourselves. I believe that I can make people smile. That's one of my things. I can make anyone smile, no matter how miserable they are. And when I get up to go on stage, the first thing I say is, Karen, it's your time to make somebody smile. And I'm confident in that. And I walk out confidently. And as you gauge your audience or who you're speaking to, it guides your happiness factor and it guides your joy factor, right? And then we start to say our confidence increases. But let's start off with behaving confidently. So that's the first tip, is let's start acting confidently. Let's stop waiting for the emotion. Let's act confidently. And we've all been in a situation where we've done that. Does anyone here have any kids or god kids, or is anyone around kids? I can't see, but I'm sure most people are. Daddy over here, Dr. Vibe. Have you ever told them that they might be nervous, they're going to play a sport, they have a test, and you tell them, you've got it, you know what to do. Now go out there with your head high and do the best that you can do. And they go and, they were sad before and they're standing up and they're able to act confidently. You want to do the exact same thing to yourself and choose to be confident when you speak, but starting with that conversation you have with yourself about yourself.
It's really interesting. You're really emphasizing the internal, the thought process. Even before you say something, you're really emphasizing how important it is. Even before you say a word, you've really got to, for lack of a word, get intimate with yourself and your persona, etc.
No, for sure, for sure. My latest book is called Speak Like You Breathe, straight talk to say what you mean, be heard and get noticed. And a lot of the conversations in there has to do with you. There's a chapter there called Lady Talk, and there's also a chapter there called Man Talk. And it has to do with conversations with yourself and actions you choose to take as well. So everything is internal. You see, what I feel is what I exude. If I feel strong, and here's the thing, when you shine a light because you love something about yourself, you give other people around you the authority to be okay with themselves as well. You see, we have to stop being our own biggest critic, Dr. Vibe. We have to believe that we actually have something important to say. And that's kind of the next tip I have for you. It's, do you believe that what you have to say is important? Because that's when you show up confidently. And no matter how much money you have in your bank account, no matter how big or small your apartment, house, or basement apartment is, it doesn't matter. You are worthy, just as worthy as, my clients who get $2.5 million. If you're a stay-at-home mom, if you're on public assistance, your voice is just as worthy as someone else, but you have to believe it. You have to.
This is good. This is really good. Artis, you foresight. Let me just pull it up. Here's a good question saying you foresight 4U2 says, how do you get rid of stage fright before you go on?
Good question. There is not one size fits all. The first piece is this. Know that you're normal if you're feeling stage fright. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to get rid of the language. And I want you to call it, good energy. Because if we call it stage fright, we will stand up there and we'll be frightened. Let's call it energy. And if we start to shift how we define your stage fright to good energy, we start the process of thinking in a positive manner. And what you want to say to yourself is, okay, this is what I need to feel to know that I'm ready. So be okay with it. Some people think that we totally need to shift it and get rid of it. What if we don't? What if we just redefine it and say, you know what? I'm okay making mistakes. I'm okay being imperfect. And what I know about myself, and then you fill in the sentence. What do you know about yourself as a speaker? So it's not about fully getting rid of the stage fright. It's about redefining it. So how about you say to yourself, I have this energy. That means I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock the room. I'm ready to share everything I've got, mistakes and all. And the only thing I can be when I get on stage is me. And that's all people expect of you. So I want you to start redefining and stop using that language. It's loaded. It sets us up for failure when we say stage fright and I fear public speaking. So you want to reset that and call it something else and use it to say, okay, I need it to move forward and kick butt on stage.
There's a joker in the Get Vocal room at Tel Kinte. He says, what did he say? Something he said, he goes, he said something. I just go, I channel Dr. Vibe when I get stage fright. Get away. Get away. He also thinks, I just think WWDRVID. I know what that acronym is, and I'm not going to say it because I know what that is. That's ridiculous, but no problem. People, family here, Karen is dropping major knowledge bombs here because I have an idea what she charges her clients. So you're getting this gratis. So while she's on, make it happen. Ask the questions, make it flow. I'm telling you, because when she poofs, who knows, it may be another 4 or 5 years till I get her back on the conversation. So make it happen, but I appreciate it. And thanks to LA Wade. She had to leave on the Periscope side. Everybody else, let's keep it going. Let's go to, RT says, do you use cue cards?
So here's the thing. All of my clients, whether they're public speaking clients and they come through the Naturally Confident Speaker realm or the Speak and Get Book clients, those who go on stage and deliver 1-hour keynotes, absolutely none of them use notes or cue cards. And I have a system that I can't really get into, but essentially— Understood. But
they need to hire you for that.
So, get in touch if you want to, but none of my clients use cue cards. None of them use written notes. Here's the thing. I had a client just a year ago, and she is a mental health speaker, and she's a mental health survivor, is what she calls herself. And one of the things she said to me is, Karen, because of my medication, my memory, my short-term memory lapses in and out. And I said, don't worry about that. She's like, I'll need notes, Karen. I'll need notes. And I told her, no, you won't. And she's kicking butt, speaking all over Canada with no notes. And she has a short-term memory loss. So there's a great system I use that can help anyone not use notes, for sure.
Yeah, I just for myself, I try to avoid them as much as possible. And if I use them, it's like 3 or 4 notes, and that's it. The rest of it, if they want you to just come from your heart. Come from your heart. Okay, Karen, is there such a such thing of a lost cause in helping them being a better public speaker? I don't understand that completely. So, Kinte, if you can rephrase that, is there a such?
I think I might have while he or she retired.
Oh, someone you can't help. That's what he's meaning.
That's what I thought. So I've had people come to me and call themselves a lost cause. There's no such thing as a lost cause. If you're here on this earth, you are here for a reason. And if you can't find it, I'm going to help you find it. So there's no such thing as a lost cause. So when someone comes to me, and I've had a handful of people who say, Karen, I've taken all these public speaking courses. I just can't do it. I've been trying to speak for years. And we start once again with their mindset. What do they believe about themselves? Because what I'll find with those people who come, they've convinced themselves that they are a lost cause, not just when it comes to speaking, but in so many different areas of their lives. And because it's innate to them, we have to remove that first. So the work before we get to having them speak more confidently or increasing their impact or eloquence is on their self-worth, their self-belief, who they believe themselves to be. So there's absolutely no one who's a lost cause. We can make it happen. You send me your toughest person and we'll get them owning the front of the room, owning the stage, owning the meeting, owning the live stream. That's one of my specialties.
Nice. Kinte is saying, can you help someone who is good now be better? Well, I know that, but I'll let you answer that one.
150% yes. I'm a believer if the person is willing, here's the thing. They have to be willing to improve, then we can just kind of sharpen your skills. You know, I get a lot of CEOs and COOs who are traveling, they're doing AGMs for all their different locations, and they're great speakers, but they could just sharpen their skills. And one of the foci that I look at is how can they become more relatable? People like to work with people that are relatable. So how can they do that no matter if they are that big CEO? Right? And it totally changes the dynamic of the culture. So yes, I can help people who are really good get better if they're willing to do the work.
No problem. Junior 6 has joined back on Periscope. And I know, Junior, I know you're the Junior from Blab Days, so I know who you is. So it's all good. I hope you're enjoying the interaction with the audience.
I am.
Good stuff. I think we're at number 3.
Yes, we are. Number 3, I lost count. I was hoping.
Yeah, no problem. That's what I'm here for, to make sure to steer the ship. You're driving it, I'm steering it. So we're at number 3.
It's a partnership for sure. So the next tip is how to be more confident when you speak, no matter the situation. And for those of you, like not everyone likes to talk a lot like me or Dr. Vibe, I'm assuming you as well. But we need to be in settings where there are a lot of people. So here's what you want to do to be more confident. Is you want to be the one leading the conversation. So listen for a moment. If you don't want to be the one speaking that much, oxymoron here, you need to be the one leading the conversation. The person who asks the questions is the one leading the conversation. Yeah. So as you go into the conversation, you want to ask open-ended questions. And what I mean by open-ended questions are questions that push the person to give a longer tailed answer. So instead of saying, Dr. Vibe, how are you? You'd say fine, not good. I could say, what were the top 3 things that happened to you today? Or what was the highlight of your day? Then you'll give a longer answer. So if you want to lead the conversation and speak less, you're asking those open-ended questions. So you now get more comfortable if you don't believe you're that person who talks a lot or has a lot to offer. Keep the open-ended questions going. Allow the other people to give their longer answers and speak about themselves and take it easy at the event. So that's just another little undercover tidbit. Be the one leading the conversation and asking open-ended, not close-ended, open-ended questions.
Jada is saying like Doctor. That's what Dr. Vibe does on his shows, and also Junior says on Periscope that was a great nugget. So people are loving what you're sharing in regards to that, and I agree with the open-ending questions. Okay, so Artis has another question. How do you know the crowd you are talking to so you can tailor your speech? This is a very good question, and I'm going to let you answer this because it's a very key part of, being confident.
All right. So let me just get some clarity. So great question. Are you talking about you're going in to deliver a presentation knowingly, or you just show up and it's impromptu talk?
That's a good question. So we'll let Artis elaborate on it, because there's one thing if you know the crowd, it's another thing if you don't know the crowd. So it can be. Of course, he says either way. Of course, you get the most out of Karen when you can. So I like the comeback, Artis.
For sure, I love it too. I'm ready for you though. So no matter what type of event or presentation you're doing, the onus is on you to do a little bit of homework. Now, before you go to the networking event, the holiday party for your workplace, or you're going to do that keynote, you need to do a little bit of audience research. And here's what you should be researching. Who will be in the audience? The demographics. Another key thing, do they want to be there, or are they being forced to be there? Because when you speak to an audience where they are mandated by their boss to be there, that's a totally different context and conversation to have than people who willingly pay their money to come to a conference. All right. So once again, we're looking at people, do they want to be there? You're going to find out who's there. The other thing you're going to find out if you're going in to deliver a presentation, is there anything that has happened recently, either on a positive note or a negative note? So you could stay away from the negative pieces, or you can highlight the positive pieces. So essentially what I'm saying here is you need to do your research. We need to do our research before we go into any event. Now, if it was a networking event, there is an organizer. You could pull up the previous events and see what they talk about, what the agenda looks like. Does everyone get an opportunity to speak? Who was there last time? So it's always doing the work beforehand so you come prepared. Hopefully that.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's really, research is so important.
Definitely.
Absolutely. It's one of those key things. And even before a little bit, even when I go into a setting,
right.
Once I come into a setting, the first people I shake hands with are the AV people.
Make them your friend.
Yeah, absolutely. They are our key people because they're going to make you look good. They're going to make you sound good. So they're key people.
Do you know
go ahead.
Nugget. So when I go in, when I am paid or I go in and I do an event, I'm booked to do an event, I always walk with, we have Tim Hortons over here in Canada, Tim Hortons, Starbucks or your local coffee shop. I get $5 or $10 gift cards and I usually walk with 5. And even before anyone does anything for me, I just thank them for doing what they do, especially the AV people, because they get the least amount of credit and they literally run the show. So when I go in, I'm like, you know what? Thanks beforehand. And you're making people your friend. Another person I give that gift card to is the organizer, because they're the one running around and they're the one who gets yelled at and they're the one who gets blamed when things don't happen, right? And the person who actually booked me. So that's what I do before I even start. So it just sets the tone and you just make them your friend for sure.
Another thing, and I'll share one of my gems that I do, I get there early and I walk around the environment because people are going to have different vantage points. So you want to make sure when you're on that stage that as many people as possible see you. And I always sit for a few moments in the last row.
You know all the tips, Dr. Vibe. You know all.
I know one or two. And also if people are there early, I talk with them. And sometimes I'll incorporate them in my sharing session. And it makes them feel like $1 million. And then I say, well, at least one person like me. I know if the rest of the crowd did, at least one person like me. So that is good. Artis, now this is an interesting question because I think you probably never do this. What about talking off the cuff? Now, I don't think you're probably a person who does that often, if at all.
Well, yes, sometimes I have to. So
okay.
More often than I expect it now. What used to happen more often than I expect is I will go to an event and someone may see that I'm there, and I'll sit down as an audience member, an attendee, and they may call me up to share a few words. So you may be caught off guard, or if you work for someone, or if you're in a meeting, entrepreneur, employee, doesn't matter, you might be called and say, Dr. Vi, would you mind coming up here and telling us your opinion on that? And it will happen. If it hasn't, you want to be prepared. So this is the guidance I give my clients when we talk about being prepared for impromptu topics. You only want to focus on one thing, right? When someone calls you up, you're not there to take the floor. You're there to share a thought. You're there to thank someone. You're there to give your perspective. So as you take your time, and I always say, take your time to get up there, because it allows you to process whatever they've asked you to comment on. Find that one point, that one perspective that you'd like to share. And you're basically going to share your perspective, why it's your perspective, and how others can apply it. So your perspective, why it's your perspective, and if it's a type of setting, how others can apply it to. And you leave it at that. Leave it that simple. Otherwise, just your perspective and why it's your perspective, and thank the person for inviting you up.
I actually have a question for you. Have you ever arrived at an event and the speech that you were ready to share, you changed it?
Yes and no. So the way I work and the way I teach my speak and get booked clients to work is we have a few signature keynotes that we're booked for. But what happens is I'll go in, and maybe based on something I may not have known before, or something I found out, or maybe the state of the event, something may have just happened and I wasn't privy to it, but you've arrived. Yeah. I customize. I can customize off the cuff, but the core components of what I committed to share with your audience stays the same. So my intro might change, right?
Right.
My clothes might change. My stories in my talk might. Other system and strategy that I use with my clients to help them to be able to be that quick to adjust. Because one of the other things that may happen is you may go to an event that you're booked to speak at. It's an hour, but things have been running too long, and they're like, Karen, now you only have 30 minutes. Are you okay? A lot of people will get really anxious. I'm able to show you how to cut that 60-minute talk into 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, and 45 minutes in a matter of 5 minutes. Right?
I can relate to what you're saying, because there were two events recently. One event where I was receiving an award, and actually at the table, I had a presentation ready to go. And then I found out that two of the founding members of the organization had recently passed away.
Oh, goodness.
So what I did is I opened up my acceptance by giving homage to those two individuals.
Perfect way to do it.
And people came up to me after and say, wow, that was fantastic. And then recently, I was blessed to host the Men's and Women's Summit on Masculinity. I was supposed to host a discussion for 20 minutes. And they said, oh my gosh, we need you to knock it down to 10 minutes. I said, okay, no problem. And they treated like, man, you're fantastic. I just work with what you give me and be the best that I can be.
Gotta be flexible. Have to be flexible.
Absolutely. I think we're at tip number 4 now.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, we're at 4. We're just having a conversation. And everyone, thank you so much for the conversation pieces on the side. Keep them coming also on Periscope and YouTube. Number 4.
All right. The next tip is practice, but practice properly. And this is what I mean. If you are going to do a presentation in front of a group of people, the only disservice you can do to yourself is continually practicing by yourself. When I say practice and practice with purpose, is I want you to simulate a similar situation, because how we react in front of the mirror, speaking to ourselves, and in front of 2 or 3 people is different, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. So what I say is grab some friends, some family, whoever, put your dog, your kids to sit down for a while and present in front of them so you can simulate the situation, and don't ever go in cold. So that's what I say. That's another tip to be confident whenever you speak. Practice with purpose.
Are you a proponent of, if you get a chance to practice your presentation via video?
Oh, indeed. So what do you mean? Recording myself and watching it?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's one tool. You definitely want to. And here's why. I know how hard it is to watch yourself when you first start, because we are our worst critic. We'll look at our lopsided ears. I know mine are lopsided. I know when I smile, It's uneven, see? But that's okay. I'm all okay with that now. But nonetheless, the way to self-correct is when you can self-acknowledge what needs to shift or what needs to change. So that is one tip. Record yourself. But the bigger piece is really simulating that situation that you'll be in whenever you deliver that presentation or talk.
Well, here's another, just a Dr. Vibe thing. Take it wherever you want. Whenever I video record myself, I play it back with the volume off.
How do you?
Because of the body language.
Yeah, body language and what messaging you're sending through without the words.
Yeah, I learned that tip and I use it a lot, and it's telling. Plus, I'm over myself, so I'm fully willing to look at myself and be honest with myself. But that tip of video recording yourself and playing it back without the audio is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. We're at number 5.
All right, you segued nicely into body language, and that's another big piece. Whether we are conscious of it or not, we are sending messages with how we use our hands, when we don't use our hands, how much space we take up. So I want to touch on a couple of body language cues that can be used to allow you to appear more confident as well. So one is when you use your hands, you want to keep your palms upwards, right? When your palms are facing the sky, it denotes positivity. When they're facing down, it denotes that you're saying something that you want someone to stop and something negative. And the quickest way to remember it is like everyone stand up, everyone sit down. When someone's talking to you, or, remember when you're young and your parents telling you to stop, they never say stop it. They say stop it, right? So always palms up, something positive, palms down, something negative. The other piece is to appear confident. So if anyone here has ever been in a meeting, whether it been for work, for anything whatsoever, you want to take up more space. So you don't want to make yourself small, because that subconsciously signals that you're not confident in yourself or what you have to say. So you want to take up more space. And I want you to watch this, because this is how you can read how someone else is feeling about themselves. You want to sit down. You want to somewhat spread out. So number one, you want to sit tall. And I always say when you sit tall, you straighten from the base of your neck and the base of your back. And you're going to feel as though someone has a string pulling from the middle of your neck. So you're sitting upright and erect. And at the same time, you want to ensure that you're taking up enough space, because those who take up more space are perceived as more confident, right? So as you sit, you don't want to be meek and mild when you're trying to feel confident. You want to take up space. So that's another body language cue. And the last one that I want to share is for another piece. It's a signal, whether you know it or not, it's true, is whenever you're in a meeting and there's some decision-making process that's going on, you want to keep your hands in a place where they're visible. When people see your hands, it signals that what you're saying is truthful. It signals that you're honest. It signals that you're transparent. And when you're hiding your hands, it signals that you have something to hide or you're dishonest. So those are 3 tips that can help you appear more confident. And on that level, subconsciously read more confident to those who are witnessing or onlooking or are part of that conversation.
Wonderful. That is out of bounds stuff. I'm enjoying this. Is really, really good. For those that are on the Get Vocal platform, I just put the link to Karen's other book, How to Live a Life with No Excuses, the truth about excuses, how to stop making them and start getting results. And the Amazon link is there. So if you want to click on that, please feel free to do that. I think we're at number 6. How many do we have?
I don't know. Is anyone else here keeping track?
We're at 6, but I want to know, how many do you have to share with us?
Well, listen, I could stay here forever. I'm conscious of the time.
No, these people ain't moving. Right? The most Jada saying, just give us all of them. That is good stuff. Well, if you have any others you want to just share with our audience, the people that are on now, they ain't moving. Most have been on for a while. They ain't moving. So because you're dropping knowledge bombs, and Jada saying we're all ears over here in capital letters.
Okay, so I'll keep it going. One of the chapters in my book, Speak Like You Breathe, the one Straight Talk, because straight talk to say what you mean is the second version of speak like you breathe. But nonetheless, one of the conversations or one of the chapters is called Lady Talk. And one of the things I talk about there is the big elephant in the room. And it's women who show up, who are assertive and confident, and they're defined as aggressive. And they're called, I don't know if I can say it, but I'm going to say it because no one wants to talk about it. They're called a bitch, right? Unfortunately, society has groomed us, and it's from a young age, and I'll share how in a moment, that when a woman is overly confident, she's aggressive, she's harsh, she's a bitch. And here's where it stems from. As we were young people, so kids playing in the playground, when females were standing in their own right or standing up to other females and other males or other boys, were deemed as the mean girl. And the other girls tease you as the mean girl. Now, when a young boy stands up, he's just being a boy. He's supposed to be that way. And as we're conditioned through life, we're used to, it's unfortunate, and people don't want to hear it, but it is what it is, but it's being changed. It's being intentionally changed. It's okay when men in meetings are voicey and they're loud, but when women are loud and stand up, they're abrasive and they're a bitch. Here's what I say to that. Because I've been called a bitch, I'll tell you, I've been called aggressive. And I say, if you have that perception of me, that has nothing to do with me. My confidence is my confidence that I own. My assertiveness is because I believe that my voice is just as worthy as you. And if you choose to define it as that, my friends, people's words only define you if you allow them to. Right? So I want to touch on that. So if you feel or you have that in your head, okay, I don't want to be too aggressive, let go of it. Standing in your worth does not equal being aggressive. Believe in yourself, believe that you're worthy enough, share what you need to say in the way you need to say it that's respectful. And that's all you can be is you, right? There's no one else like you on the planet. So your voice needs to be heard. Even if you have a twin or a triplet, there is no one like you in the world. Like by that alone, you're worthy to be heard. So that's one thing I want to share about the B factor.
Well, I think we have a new member of the Karen Donaldson fan club. Her name is Jada. She's going, that's right, big letters. And she goes, that's me all the way, SMH. There we go. Jada, I don't know if I'd love if someone would like to jump in and ask Karen a question. You have such great things going on the side here, but if someone wants to jump in, I'd really like that. Karen, how has obviously you have, I guess, more, what's the word I'm looking at? More public figures in your business now than when you started, more people that are in the space. What clients come to you for help now? Has it changed over the years, or has it basically consistently stayed the same?
It's consistently stayed the same, but let me tell you how it works. People come to me because they want to do one of two things. I'll talk about the first thing. People come to me because they want to increase their impact. They want to increase their eloquence. They want to increase their confidence when they speak, right? But it's more for them is I want to show bigger. And the work that we do is around self-awareness, self-love, self-worth. Because what you believe of yourself is what you display. So no matter, and it's interesting, I'll tell you a quick story. I had a client, and I can't remember if he was a VP or COO, but he had an office with a full bathroom and shower in there. And I can't say the name of the company, but they had a helicopter landing pad on top of their building. They owned the whole building. And he was known to organization as being that tough person. And when he walked around the office, people straightened up and they closed everything because he was a nitpicker. And when I went in to work with him, because he had to now go around and do all the AGMs across the country, we had to work on his confidence. So this person had, a play budget of, I believe it was $15,000, and drove ridiculous cars and had vacation homes. And before we could even touch on him increasing his impact when he spoke with people, we had to talk about his self-worth, what he believed about himself, because he felt this small. So that was years ago. And the same thing today when I might work with a stay-at-home mom. or a team leader or back to a politician. It comes down to self-worth, self-value, self-love. Back to right here, what you were identifying before. Because who you are here is what you repeat and give out outwardly as well. So it has not changed. So sometimes I go in and I'm a bit more of a counselor than I am a public speaking coach, which it is for a lot of careers and different, for a lot of people on here, I'm sure a part of whatever all we do is we counsel people. We support people as much as we can with our words and our ears, right?
What would you say is the average, and I use the word loosely, average demographic of one of your clients these days?
These days, the old boys club.
Wow.
The old boys club. I'll say it like it is. They're older Caucasian males. Those are primarily my clients. And let me tell you why a lot of them are referred to me. And when it comes to the CEOs and my politicians, that's based on referral. I have two stories to share with you. Number one is what they're realizing is that no matter if their company has grown or they've been there for decades, their employee base has changed. And this, I'm the ego, no longer matters. Like millennials will leave you the same day when they decide they don't like you and pick up their purse or wallet and leave with no notice. Okay,
Yeah.
And that's the reality of the workforce. So they now realize that they have to change. If they're trying to build a culture that's cohesive, that's innovative, that's outperforming, they have to change. So the ones who are ready to do the work come to me. And I find that it's a lot of those old school people from the old boys club that come. Now, here's my other story. As I shared, when it comes to my politicians and CEOs, although that's not all who I work with, it's based on referral. They'll see a colleague and say, hey, I see a difference in how you're presenting. Who did it? And they'll pass on my name. And what happens is the assistant will call my assistant, they'll buy a package, invest in a package, and then I'll go in for my first session. Here's what has happened on more than one occasion. It's actually happened on 3. I'll go in and the last one was I go in and I went up to the desk and they said, hi, may I help you? I said, hi, I'm Karen Donaldson. I'm here to meet with Mr. So-and-so. And she opened her book and she looked and she saw my name and she looked up at me and she looked back down and she looked up at me and she said, you're Karen Donaldson? I said, yes, I'm Karen Donaldson. And she looked back and she looked up and she said, are you Karen Donaldson's intern? And she looked down.
Oh, wow.
Looked up, and she said, is Karen being dropped off or is she parking her car? I said, no, I'm Karen. And, calm and cool. No one can shift me. Yep. Nonetheless, I sat down and her desk was a little bit higher and her head was lower. So she picked up the phone and she said, Mr. So-and-so, there's this Black lady here who said she's Karen Donaldson.
Wow.
So in that moment, had it been 15 years ago, she would have got a tongue-lashing Dr. vibe.
Yep.
However, it's not that year. And it was 2016. And I chose to not say anything directly to her because I'm bigger than that. However, when I went in to work with my client, I let him know what happened so he could handle it. Right?
Good stuff.
But people don't expect me. So I've also heard that you don't look like a public speaking coach. And I usually say, show me what one looks like. So I'm okay with me and I leave everyone else who isn't, because my whole thing is, are you interested in getting support to shine on stage or not? Because that's what I'm here for. And if you want support, that I can do it. So let's make it happen. Other than that, you can stay caught up with, you don't look old enough and everything else, all those isms that come along with, working with people in different economic statuses.
Mr. Tony Davis, how are you?
Hey, Dr. Vibe, how are you?
Outstanding. Yourself?
I'm doing good. We'll communicate with you through email here, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it okay.
We'll get through it. We'll work through it.
Yeah.
Do you have a question for Karen?
Well, I do, and I kind of wanted to give a brief story to get to my question really quick. Karen, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
How are you? Well, that's great. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. I'm going to be very brief with it because I don't want to be long drawn out. I'm a 44-year-old man. I have a lot of health problems. 20 years ago, when I was 14, I was a very outgoing child. very so outgoing that I was annoying. I was annoying to my peers. I was annoying to my family. I was annoying to everyone. Um, but something happened when I was around that age, and long story short, I didn't deal with rejection very well. Rejection hit me pretty hard. I went from a very socially outgoing child to one that was just like, no, don't look at me, don't talk to me. I could not handle rejection whatsoever. And this happened with rejection from my peers, rejection from job offers, rejection from school, rejection just in general. My self esteem went from very high to extremely low. Um, I spent a whole teenage years trying to figure out who I was again and where I was going and why I was going there. My Aunt Rainhill, she gave me a book, How to Influence and Influence People. That's probably one of the best books I ever read in my life. Um, how to deal with my fears, how to deal with rejection, how to deal with uh, public speaking, learning who I can speak to, who I click with, who I don't click with. Anyway, long story short, still to this day, and this cripples me to this day, and I hate the fact of this, I have problems of fear of coming on too strong or not coming on strong enough. And it is a constant roller coaster for me. Sometimes I overcompensate. I make a point that I'm always sociable to everyone. And I have to with my family business. We have a coffee shop and a tea room, so I have to kind of be a little overbearing with the way I am, and to make a point. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? That kind of stuff. Social media has helped me quite a bit because I'm in front of a camera and I can kind of not worry about if I'm coming on too strong or not coming on strong enough. But how can I, as an individual, get to this point where sometimes it is so crippling to me, I get to this, no, don't talk to me, don't bother me, because I'm scared to do anything, because I don't know if I'm coming on not strong enough or coming on way too strongly.
Right.
So what advice would you give me?
So first of all, thank you so much for sharing that story. Thank you so much for sharing and all your transparency. I truly appreciate you being willing to share here. And here's what I'd say to you. You have convinced yourself and you've taken on the belief that you're annoying. So when you share that story from a young age, you're still living like that's true. It's harder when we're young to fully live in words of others don't define you, especially when it's loved ones saying these things, but you're still there. So you're right now, everything you do when you say you don't want to come on too strong, or sometimes it's not it's not strong enough, it's because you're still living in someone else's words that you're annoying. So here's my question to you. How do you want to show up?
As sincere and genuine as I can.
So here's what I want you to do. I want you to start telling yourself and saying to yourself and believing in yourself that I'm genuine. Those same words that you shared, I want you to continually say that to yourself and don't define it. Too often we choose how we want to be, but we think we have to define it and justify it. I want you to say who you are and walk into all settings like that. And you have to start releasing how people perceive you, because you are who you are. We cannot please everyone. I could have $1,000 and give everyone $100, and there'll be one person who will say, Karen, we've been friends for so long. How dare you only give me $100? So I want you to be true to you. You decide who you want to be, because you can. And start to release and start to say to yourself, words of others don't define me. And everyone will experience me differently, but it's their choice. What's most important is, what are you choosing to believe about you? That's the most important piece. And that's what I want you to focus on. Release for everyone else. They're entitled to their thought. So are you. So choose your thought, believe in it, repeat it in your head, and show up that way. And everyone else will do what they will. Some will like it and some won't. That piece isn't up to you. What's up to you is you deciding who you be and standing true to that. So you're not annoying. You are who you are. Release it. Let it go. Let it go.
Well, I don't think I'm an annoying person. It's just kind of a thing of, am I coming across too sincere? Or am I coming across way too far off base? Is it, am I being too strong? Too?
For my client, I say stop it. That's my thing. Stop it. I don't want to hear it. I'm sincere, and I have you repeat it 10 times. Who are you? What are you? Who are you? What are you? And we do that sometimes for half an hour to start to recondition how you think about yourself. So sometimes you want to sit in the mirror or sit in your phone and repeat it. I am sincere. I love being sincere. It's so fun being sincere. I'm sincere. That's just who I am. I am sincere because it has to be a belief. It has to be a belief, and no one can change it for you until you believe it for yourself. So release everything else. And every time it shows up, someone else, am I being too? I'm sincere. My only job in life, what I'm working hard to be, is be sincere, and I am already sincere. And repeat it, and lead it, and repeat. That's essentially the work that you need to start to do before you. Everything else will flow in nicely. Everything else will align once your self-belief shifts. So that's what I would suggest for you. Hopefully that was helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate that.
That is good stuff. Like, I know that Tony received, and I see that actually on YouTube, Harrison Family Vlogs, where can we find a price list for your services? So I've sent them your email address, Karen. So I'm speaking it. If you're getting her email address, the least you can do is reach out to her and say how much of an impact, positive impact she's made. And I've also shared her email address with the Get Vocal crowd. And Melvin Lars says, bravo. Junior 6 on Periscope said, this is a priceless moment.
Oh, thank you so much. I see that.
That is good stuff.
Well, Dr. Bob, I'm gonna hop off cam. Karen, thank you so much for your advice.
We'll be in touch, Tony. I will get to you.
Positive energy to you.
Okay.
All right, then. Take care, Tony.
Thank you.
I think that is a great way to end our conversation.
It is.
I think that is like,
wow.
No, Miss Jada's on now. Here we go. Watch out. As I said I was going to end, Jada jumps in. So Jada, how are you?
I'm doing well. It is a pleasure to meet you, Karen. I've been listening and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you are speaking life into me right now. So I just wanted to let you know that. And I just kind of wanted to put a face behind the name because he kept saying it. So hi Marvin, hi Melvin, hi everyone. But I just wanted to let you know that your words are really impactful. I think even just how you started out and saying kind of you were just like the chatterbox in school and the grades were on point, and that's exactly who like you were describing me. So it was extremely relatable. So I really, really just appreciate it. And you just sharing your story and giving us amazing tips. Thank you. I just wanted to let you know that.
Jada, if you have any questions, you're on now. I'm not shutting it down. If you want to have a little bit more conversation, as long as Karen's good with it, I'm good with it. So go for it.
Really quickly, I did want to ask, I know you touched on how you made it, your business, but what was that like turning point? Was it when you graduated high school that you were just like, oh, and then you were presented with the opportunity that you were like, this could be, it? Like, what made you say like kind of goodbye to anything else that you probably had in mind, or, any other desires of even entrepreneurship? Like, just because you were good at it doesn't mean that you necessarily wanted to do it. Like, what was that like turning point that or that aha moment, I should say?
No, for sure. Let me tell you a little bit more of my background, a little snippet. Prior to me getting pregnant, I was age 18. I'm a professional dancer and a professionally trained choreographer. And when I was a student with my youth dance performing company here in Toronto, our artistic director and our head choreographer left. And it was myself and a good friend of mine who had to take over the whole cast. We had over 60 dancers and a musician section with over 30 people that were our age. And at that time, I was forced to become an entrepreneur because we were we were the principal dancers, and we had to run the company. So from that point, I had to go from like running jokes with like the other students to actually running the show as a co-artistic director and a co-head choreographer. And I knew from that point, and we toured Canada and the US, there was something entrepreneurial about me. And I did what I was supposed to do. I went to school, I went to university. And right after I finished university, as I shared, I was speaking on the side and I was also doing dance choreography. I knew it wasn't for me. And it wasn't that I didn't like listening to people. It didn't have anything to do with that. But I knew that I wanted to be in control of what I was controlling now, but someone else was just giving me a little slice of it, right? And they're saying yes to what I could do and how many people I could speak to and when I had to stop. And for me, it wasn't okay. So I had 2 careers and I stayed employed to have my children. I'm going to tell you fully transparent. I stayed employed to have my children. Over here in Canada, this bylaw was passed that you get paid for 12 months for maternity leave, your full pay at the organizations that I know. That's why it's
amazing.
So with my last 2 kids, my whole 12 months, I was given 100% pay. And as soon as I had my little cutie pie, I was out of there. So it was part of a longer plan, but survived that moment when 6 weeks to deliver my letter. And it was because I was fully connected to what I was doing, but I knew there were so many other people out there that I wanted to impact, that I wanted to support, who had become voiceless. And I saw the voicelessness in them as to where I was when I was to stop. Some of them are like my parents' age and they have so much in them.
Yeah.
Right. And it's showing them how to say okay to themselves. And I find it so fun when people refine their voice and they start to rock it. Oh my God. It brings me, oh God. Yeah. Lots of joy.
And I could see the passion. I could see the excitement. And I think that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else, Shada?
Huh?
What did you say, Karen? I'm sorry.
I would say thank you so much for showing your face.
And yes. I wanted to actually, I was initially going to come on and then I was just like, I just came from the gym. So I was like, I didn't feel like being on camera. Then I was like, screw that. I was like, I'm going to just come on. I needed to say hi. So yeah.
Well, Jada, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Dr. Vibe, for having her.
The pleasure. Would you like her back?
I would. Oh my gosh. This even down to, so, it's funny because when I was in school, and I took communications and there were certain things. So you were literally, when I said you were dropping gems, you really were, because there's certain things that when it comes to body language and even like articles of clothing and the color that will make a statement when you are speaking in front of an audience. So the fact that you were saying all these amazing things, I thought it really just like, again, you were dropping knowledge. Like you were really, extremely informative. So I could really appreciate that. And I'm pretty sure everyone else that was here, because everyone stayed in the room. So
yeah. Well, I do my best to keep you guys family here. So I do my best. Bring out the heavy hitters, So yes. we do the best we can with what we got. And what Karen has is more than good enough.
Mm-hmm. I would love to have her back on the show.
Okay. All right. And Melvin is saying the same thing. And a few other people on YouTube are saying the same. Yeah. So we hope that she comes back for an encore performance.
Yeah. And then, sorry, real quick, Karen, when someone contacts you, like, do you do, like Skype sessions? Like, how do you, work?
For sure. So when somebody initially contacts me, we do a short conversation or a short strategy call, about 20 minutes. And I do it over Skype. We do Facebook. We can talk on Facebook.
Okay.
I have a platform, Zoom. I have a lot of, because of the client, actually, I can call out. But here's the thing I want to share with everyone. Couple of things. Number one, if you are interested in anything that I have, and Dr. Vibe will share my websites. One is speakconfident.com. That's for the naturally confident speaker stuff. And for those of you who are interested in speaking and getting paid, it's speakandgetbooked.com. And Dr. Vibe will definitely post that for me. Anyone who wants to contact me and just reference Dr. Vibe, you'll get an additional discount and a bonus.
Oh, I like that.
Mention Dr. Vibe, that's the magic word, and then we'll have a conversation.
That's amazing. I need to take a picture of this so that, that's awesome. So thank you. Yes, because certain things that could always be tweaked. So, speaking is what I do also, but I think, like I said, I feel like you're a lot more experienced, and again, you know what you're doing. So yeah.
All right, dude, I'm going to let you go because we're going to close it out. So I'm going to let you go. And thanks again for making the conversation better. All right. All right, Ms. Karen, I know you got 3 kids and you do need to get some rest because you got to keep the energy flowing. So any final words and contact information?
Absolutely. So final words. Well, you know what? Let me give you my contact information. As I shared, if you'd like to talk about speaking things, www.speakconfident.com. Speaking and getting booked and paid, speakandgetbooked.com. You can find me. My Instagram handle is @TheRealKarenDonaldson. On Facebook, it's Karen Donaldson Inc. As well as on LinkedIn, it's The Real Karen Donaldson. And I also have a YouTube channel. It's Karen Donaldson Inc. They're all similar, and everything will be posted. And here are my last words to you. My friends, we speak every single day of the year. And your voice is so worthy to be heard. Not because I say so, because you're so unique that there's no one else like you in this universe. Speak up. Stand true in who you are and what you know. And the last thing I want to say to you is this, and these are the words I live by, and I encourage you to take it on. I'm passing it on to you, and it's words of others don't define you. You define you. And Dr. Vibe, I so thank you for this opportunity and for this opportunity to share and give. Thank you so much. You have such a big heart.
Well, no, the pleasure's mine, and I am so happy for what you've done in the past, what you're doing now, and what you're going to be doing in the future. I'm going to certainly reach out to you because I got to improve my game, not just Jada. There's other people got to improve their game. So I will certainly reach out. And again, the mic is open. Well, they want you back, Karen. So you can't, as I said, you can't wait a few years. They want you back. We won't tell the other 2 titles she has, but they are powerful too. So we'll certainly get her back again. I am Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. I am the host of Epic Conversations, and this is the home of Epic Conversations. If you want to watch rebroadcasts or replays of conversations like this, you can go to my YouTube channel, the space DRP, DR period space, VIBE space SHOW. You have about 500 conversations you can check out there. Audio-wise, you can go to my website, thedrvibeshow.com. You can go to Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, Stitcher Radio. Selected audio replays are available at thegoodmenproject.com, WJMS Radio out of New York, and Mile High Radio out of Denver, Colorado. I will be making some appearances in the near future. Next month during Black History Month, on February 2nd, I'm going to be a panelist for a conversation about how Black fathers love their Black sons. And that's February 2nd. Then February 3rd, I'm going to be tentatively hosting a conversation about Blacks in media in Canada at the National Black Canadians Conference. And at the end of next month, I'm going to be hosting a panel discussion at the National Fatherhood Conference. So I'm trying to show Karen, I'm trying to get to her level, or at least attend to her level, but I always need to tweak it up more. I could say a lot of other things where you can contact me, but just go to the website, thedrvibeshow.com. That'll give you all the contact information you need. What I'm going to do is end off, 2 things. I'm going to thank everybody who was on. So I'm going to try and do it quick. If I've left you out, It's just a mistake of the head, not a mistake of the heart. So, Melvin, Jada, I am Ritz Kellogg. We are praying about your mother. Sorry to hear that she's been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Oh my gosh. We will have her in prayer. Artis. We also had Jada. We also had, and just scrolling through names here quickly. Maluli Chai is here on of course, one of your biggest fans just showed up on Periscope. Also, we had, okay, let me just make sure Anthony, how could I forget Anthony? He came in and just did some fantastic stuff. Badges. I'm just going back to the beginning. Patricia, of course, Durham Skywriter, can't leave you out. On the YouTube side, Harrison Family Vlogs, which I gave your email address to, so hopefully they'll contact you. And then U4Sight for you too. If I left you out, it's because of my mind, not my heart. So please forgive me. Last four things I'd like to say. You're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles and you're a solution for someone's problem. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Next up, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Also, block assumptions. And finally, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Thank you, everybody, so much for this. The next time I'm back on Get Vocal, one of the people in the house here, Kinte, is hosting a 24-hour marathon on Get Vocal, starting 12 a.m. on Sunday, going 24 hours, whatever that correct time is. Oh, also, too, Cliff. Sorry, I didn't want to leave you out either. So, and I'm going to be on from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday afternoon. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet, and Kinte's on my back. So if anyone has a topic they'd like me to host a conversation on, can you please touch base with me via Twitter? Because I don't want to get Kinte on my case because he's waiting. So, yes. So that is it. That is all. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and walk good. And again, much thanks to Karen and much thanks to everybody who watched this live and everybody who watched this on the replay. This was epic and out of bounds. God bless.
God bless everyone. Thank you.